and they're not all downloaded with the app, and I can send them instructions, but at the end of the day, I gotta, you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
I can't help everybody all the time. And that is one of the deficiencies in the online system, is that sometimes the technical stuff can get in the way of actually getting on. So
Yeah.
we'll just cross the bridge and go. So, hey, I put the slide deck together, and I'll show it to you.
Okay.
So I've added some review stuff, and then let's see here. Hold on. Let me bring this stupid thing up. Okay, present to everyone. Here we go. Now I'm on. Okay, so Tanner. So here's the first piece. So I put this up first because there was some stuff on the test with this. So just a cardiac review.
Right.
So let's just go through it. So there's two. So the ABCs, Ds of hypertension, of treating hypertension, are drug and non-drug therapies. So do you know the drug therapies?
You know what? I don't think I do.
Well, let's go through them. Damn it! Back at the ranch.
I need to review all of that.
That's why we're doing this, and I've added some things. So I'm going to do.
I'm sorry. I was going to say these are all the the alpha blockers, ACE blockers, yes. The what you call them? Some blocking. Yeah.
And then diuretic.
ARBs is the one I always forget.
That's why we're doing this.
Okay. Yes. Yes. So I do.
What are the three drugs in A?
Okay.
What are the three drugs in A?
In the A, we have the ACE blockers.
Yep.
ARBs.
Yep.
And ACE. Alpha blockers.
So alpha blockers.
Alpha blockers.
And then ACE inhibitors.
Right. And I got that stupid question wrong. And I knew I knew the ACE are prils. I knew that the ARBs are sartans, and I knew that the ACE were SINs, right? Alpha blockers. But I, believe it or not, until I walked out, it didn't dawn on me that ARBs are angiotensin receptor blockers. And the question clearly stated what angiotensin receptor blocker. And I could have gotten that question right if I had taken the time to figure out what ARBs meant before it dawned on me.
Yeah, no, that's why we're going over this.
Good, good.
I missed one of these two, and I was like, never again.
Good, good.
So that, yep, you're right. So we got ARBs, ACE inhibitors, and alpha blockers. And what's the suffix to the medications that go with those?
Right, the ACE inhibitors end in pril.
Yep.
The ARBs end in sartan.
Yep.
And the ACE blockers end in SIN, S-I-N.
Yep.
And then we have our beta blockers, which are our Bs, that end in LOL, lol, laugh out loud.
Yep.
Right.
All.
And
okay, calcium channel.
The calcium channel blockers are that weird one that's nifedipine or
yeah, nifedipine.
Yeah, nifedipine. I don't know how to pronounce that thing.
That's okay. Yeah, I can only say them half the time myself.
Right, and nifedipine, and is it verapamil, the other one?
Yeah, verapamil is one of them, and the last one starts with D.
And then there's one more, and that's the first one.
It's deltazamine.
Deltazamine.
Yeah, deltazamine.
Deltazamine. That one I have to file away in my brain, because that's one
why we're going over this.
Right.
Okay, last ones.
Then the last one's those are the diuretics, right? Or
yep.
Yeah, diuretics are HTCl is one of them.
Yep, HCTZ, yep.
HCTC.
Hotel Charlie Tango Zulu.
Hotel Charlie Tango Zulu.
That's what it is.
I'm going to have to remember that. Hotel Charlie Tango Zulu.
Zulu, yep.
PTC. Okay, and then the other one is the furosemide.
Yep.
Right. And then the last one.
It sounds really crazy, this one. Spironolactone.
That one. Yeah. Oh, it's such a weird name. I have to remember what Amy Elizabeth did. She has that like little spiral that
little picture thing.
Yeah, I should remember that because she has this really good, and I should look at that picture right now because that would really help me remember. Honestly, since we saw all of this, I have not reviewed it again, which is really
why we're doing it.
Exactly. Really
you can hate me later. That's why we're doing it.
Yeah.
Because again, unless someone drives that we do it, whether it's me or you or whoever, that's why we have to go back and review. Because if we don't, we won't.
Right.
Okay. So what are the non-drug therapies that we can give?
Non-drug therapies. Which are the non-drug therapies?
So starting with avoiding salt.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
There you go.
Avoiding salt. Then B is no, you know what? I am completely off on this one. You guys
be active.
That makes sense.
Be active. Cease caffeine. Cease tobacco.
Right.
And then diet. Drop 5% body weight.
That is so simple. Why do I not remember that?
Because we haven't looked at it in 3.5 weeks.
Yeah, I just keep putting more stuff in my brain instead of going back and reviewing. That's one of the things that I really lack on is like going back and reviewing because it's so important to keep reviewing. Otherwise, it goes. You forget it.
Like so, we did this one, and then we're gonna do. So can you see me click on the slides over on your screen?
Right now, I just see the U5 cardiac system review. Oh, there you go. There it is. Yes.
Okay, cool. That's it.
Change now.
Yeah, hold on. I just got a freaking text message. Hold on. Let me send this. Let me send this invite out again one more time. So sure. Tanner's on. I'm inviting Tanner. I'm inviting this girl Zara. Again. There it is. Okay. Okay. So yeah, I just invited Tanner again, somebody else again. There's Tanner.
Sweet.
Okay, so
there's Tanner.
You're with me on the freaking slide deck now.
Uh-oh.
So we're doing Unit 3 immune system review now. What the heck is that noise?
I don't know.
Sounds like somebody's getting a phone call.
Yeah, it sounded like a phone call.
Oh, Tanner just cut his mic out. It sounds like he's getting something going on.
Oh.
Tanner, turn your kids' play toys off.
No, it was like the Google call. It kept going after I answered it.
I'm just teasing you, man. Okay. So here's where we're at. So we just did Unit 5, ABC, D of hypertension review. We're going to keep moving on. So Tanner, just so you know what you missed.
Okay.
So if you click back to the slide, you can. I built a little quiz thing to go over the ABCs, and we just finished that. Now we're doing hypertension.
Okay.
Hypersensitivity review. So here are the 4 types of hypersensitivity: allergic type 1, cytotoxic type 2, immunocomplex type 3, and delayed response type 4. And you guys need to match up which of the. So there's 4 matchings. Match them up.
Okay.
Which one goes to which thing?
Okay.
So Addie, are you there? Did you see this?
I see it. Do you want me to answer?
Yeah, go ahead and start answering some of them.
Okay, so the allergic type, I always tie it to the mast cells. Okay. So allergic type 1 is mast cells release chemical mediators to meet a threat, that the histamine. Then you have the cytotoxic type 2. I tie it to it kills the cell. So it says when the antibody, let's see, where is this? When the antibody attacks the antigen, it also kills the cell that is attached. That's why it's cytotoxic, cytocell toxic, deadly, or toxic, obviously, poisonous. So C is cytotoxic type 2. And then we have when the antibody binds to an antigen, it can make larger complexes that can't be broken down. You remember that's the one that damages the kidneys, the glomerulus. So that's the immunocomplex type 3. And obviously we have the delayed response, which is the cell mediated rather than antibody mediated. Right?
Okay. So here are the answers. There are the answers.
I still see the same thing. No answers so far.
Damn this thing.
There it is. Yep.
Damn, you got it right.
D and A, yes.
So for Tanner, for you, did you know all those?
Yes.
No, for Tanner. Tanner, did you know all those?
I didn't.
Okay, so again, just wham bam. Thank you, ma'am. That's where we're at.
Okay.
Okay.
So
again, kind of a little bit of review for everybody. Okay, so now we're going to get into. So this is from the quiz. So Tanner was so very nice to help us all out. And okay, do you guys see the quiz? The quiz practice matching that I put up.
Yes.
So Addie, so Tanner has a friend who took this class last semester who has all these quizzes. They're different questions, but they're quizzes from this class for this section. So they're very similar to what we're going to be seeing on our class day, so Thursday and Tuesday. So okay. I put the quiz matching. I changed it. So the matching is exactly what they gave the previous class. I just switched the answers around. So Tanner, if he's seen the answers, he can't pick them just because he's seen them before. He's actually
there we go.
So okay. I made it hard again, so you would have to actually look at them.
That's awesome.
Take a minute to look at these, and let's go through this, and let's figure out what we know just from the lecture. Now, for Addie, you're a little bit behind the power curve, but this will get you ready for your exam tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah, this is as close to your quiz as we can get.
Yeah, and well, this week I'm gonna have actually the quiz on
quiz 8.
Yeah, we're behind you guys now.
You, if you go back online under example quizzes, Tanner has put a quiz 8 example quiz online.
Cool.
So you can look at it and see how they're questions and how it's set up.
I'll check it out.
Okay. I actually don't think I've added that one because I forgot that you guys are behind us. So I'll take a picture and upload that one.
It's good. Don't worry. I actually feel pretty confident in this one, so I'm good. But for other people, if you can do it, yeah, others might benefit from it.
Okay. Cool. Let's see.
All right, so we can get on with the endocrine system. I'm looking forward to learning a little bit ahead of the curve, ahead of class.
Okay. So here is, this is more for Tanner then. So do you know any of these, Tanner?
Okay, I'm going to say number 2.
Come over. Go ahead. Let me know some of these.
What?
So, Addie, go ahead and look over these with him.
Yes.
Like so, Samoji phenomenon, hypothalamus, pheochromocytoma, HHS, thyroid crisis. Some of these things you may know from anatomy and physiology.
Yes. So the hypothalamus, I know, of course. The thyroid crisis.
Releasing hormones.
What was it?
C, right?
So yeah, so the hypothalamus is C, the source of releasing hormone.
Okay.
It has all the releasing hormones.
Yes.
Yes. Then that morning hyperglycemia, hypoglycemia during the night. That's not heard. Low temperature, hair loss, weight gain. Glycemia with ketones present. extreme hypertension, elevated temperature, morning hyperglycemia, no hypoglycemia at night. Yeah, I don't know any of these. I cannot tie those
That's okay.
to any.
Number 1, Chris, Somoji phenomenon. Is that D, morning hyperglycemia during the night?
Yes, that's Somoji syndrome phenomenon.
Okay.
Somoji.
And pheochromocytoma. I don't know these other 3. On 5, I'm gonna try and see if I can figure out what 5 is.
Okay, so thyroid crisis. That's a big one, right?
Yeah. Thyroid crisis. Okay. So the thyroid. Oh, you gave it to me. Okay.
I cheated and gave it to you. So there are the answers.
That's okay. That's what I was gonna say. G. All right.
Elevation of body temperature.
Extreme hypertension, elevated body temperature.
Elevated temperature.
When we hear HHS, what do we think of with HHS? There are 2 that go together. They're both acronyms.
Is it the hematocrit and hemoglobin, HH?
So HHS is another syndrome that goes with DKA.
Okay.
So DKA is hyperglycemia with what? With ketone release, right?
Ketone bodies, yeah. Hyperglycemia is with ketone bodies. I know that.
S is hyperglycemia with no ketones present.
HHS?
Yes.
Ah, okay. Hyperglycemia with no ketones present is HHS.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're to the fun part.
No, sorry.
Okay, so Addie, so now we're actually in the notes. So if you want to get your notes out in front of you, Unit 9 notes.
I have them right here.
Okay, so what I've done, again, as I've refined this a little bit more. So I've refined it again. So if you look at the way I've set this up now, that the first page, so it says page 1, and look what it says. It says endocrine system, nervous overview, hormone transport. So that's what's on page 1. So as you look through it, you can kind of get a general feel for how the pages are laid out. And so that's how this is going to flow.
Okay.
So if nothing else tonight for you, I want to make sure that you get through all the page overviews so that you get a feel for the flow of what you're going to see tomorrow.
Yes.
And then kind of get you primed up. Okay, so endocrine system and nervous system overview. So if you go to the next slide, if you're not with me or whatever, okay, you guys are with me again, so that's awesome. So on the next slide, it's the endocrine system and the nervous system. You want to remember 2 words: fast or slow, long and short.
Yes.
So anything in the body that we ever have a fast response on, how long does it usually last?
It can be a short period of time.
Yeah, short lasting effect, right? So nervous system has a fast response or a fast communication cycle, but how long does it last?
Short.
It's very short. So in order for the body to have a sustained response to something, it brings up the endocrine system. So the endocrine system, by releasing hormones into the bloodstream, is a slow response, but it will last over a long period of time.
It's sustained.
Is this section on the right, is that the exocrine?
Yeah, so on the left side of the box is endocrine system. So the endocrine system is kind of the control center, right? It uses hormones to signal, and the signals are only turn on or turn off. Those hormones do only one of those 2 things.
Right.
Okay. The neurons on the other side, the communicating system is the neurons, and it uses neurotransmitters and neurons to do the communication, and it's short, rapid communications with fast response that falls off quickly.
Right. Okay.
Okay. It's more of an overview of those 2 systems and how they work.
Okay.
Which is kind of what that first page is, right?
Yes.
Yep. Yes.
Okay. So, shit. Sorry, I'm losing my mind. I hold punch drum. Okay. So underneath that, okay, we get into the term tropic. What does the word tropic hormones mean?
Those are hormones that will trigger other hormones, right? They change.
Yeah.
They go to. Yeah, they go to other. What do they call them? Yeah, those hormones trigger the release of another hormone, right?
Yeah. So the end organ that's being affected is not the intermediate organ. So the hypothalamus releases a hormone and it goes to the anterior pituitary, and the anterior pituitary converts it into something else. Then it travels on to the target organ and affects it, turns it on or turns it off, right? So that's what tropic means, okay? So now let me talk about regulation. So how do we regulate the endocrine system and the nervous system? How is everything in the body regulated?
We have our negative feedback and positive feedback.
So, Addie, take the negative feedback and tell me how that works. How does that work?
Negative feedback is when we have something that has changed in the body will react in reverse to bring it back to normal.
There we go. So we get a response, we turn something on, we create something, and the excess of that thing shuts the start off.
Yes.
That's the negative feedback. Okay, Tanner, can you explain positive feedback to us?
So positive feedback, like in child labor, sorry, I'm just trying to figure out how to say
no,
this.
You're on the right track. So child labor is a great one.
The signal, it takes it farther in that direction.
You're there. Keep going. Keep going. You're there. Keep going.
It keeps pushing it forward until it removes the thing that's triggering it, right?
Yeah.
I also think of it as in sneezing. When you want to sneeze, and you have that thing, right? Your body makes you go into that feeling as like, okay, gotta sneeze, and then finally it gets to a point where like you sneeze and then you remove that offending thing, and then you're back to normal. So it pushes it up until it is able to release or remove the offending event or whatever's happening. So in the case of the baby, the woman gets the contractions, and it keeps going up and up and up until the baby's born. And once it removes that triggering event or triggering situation, then it goes back to normal. But you got it. Yeah, you were just not being able to explain exactly what you wanted.
Yeah. Okay.
Perfect. Okay, so hormone transport. There are two types of hormone transports in the body. One is water-based, and one is lipid-based. Yeah. Can you guys tell me the difference between those two?
So the lipid base is going to need a protein to carry it, right?
Yeah. So the hormone attaches to a lipid, and then those proteins and different things react with that so that it can pass through the cell wall.
Right.
Okay. No, you're there. You're totally okay. So there's interactions between the hormone, the fat molecule, and the proteins, and the cell channels to let those hormones pass through. What's the difference between those guys and water soluble?
The water soluble can travel in the plasma without problems, but they cannot pass the cell wall, because the cell wall is hydrophobic. So it needs to go through either a channel or some other type of transport to bring it into the cell. One thing that I like to remember about the lipid is that because they're lipids, they do not do well in plasma, right? That's why they need the transport. Because lipids are obviously hydrophobic, and they don't like to be in plasma alone. So in order to travel in the blood, they need to attach to a protein that will take them to the ultimate tissues where they need to act.
And those fats and proteins also protect the hormone.
Yes.
They protect them in the environment, right? It's like a shell.
The protein, yeah, protects them from getting damaged on the way.
Which one lasts longer in the body? Water-based or fat-based?
Let's say fat-based.
Yeah, fat-based because you have a protective shell around you. Okay, awesome. Okay, moving right along. Okay, hold on. Let me make sure you guys can see the review questions. Another review question. Tanner, thank you. It's one of yours. So here you go. I'll read it just in case you guys can't see it, but I'm bringing it up. So it says, review question number 1. Which of the following is correct when considering the differences between adrenergic or sympathetic and cholinergic parasympathetic nervous system? A, muscarinic receptors cause dry mouth when they are stimulated. Beta blocker medications suppress the parasympathetic receptors. Anticholinergic medications will stimulate the GI system. And A1, B1, and B2 receptors are responsible for the fight or flight response when stimulated.
Oh yeah, it is not C. I know that. Oh, you gave us the answer. That's what I was going to say. It was D.
Okay, I'm going to slow down and not do that as much.
I was going to say that's way over my head because I haven't even read this.
You're okay. So, Addie, so tomorrow, so it'll probably most likely be Megan who presents this to you, but she'll emphasize what she wants you to know.
Good.
So
yeah, I'm just glad that I get to see it before they talk about it because it really helps me understand when they're.
Oh, we got some. Oh, it's Zakia.
Finally.
Are you on?
Yes, I am here.
So welcome.
Welcome, Zakia.
Welcome, Zakia.
Okay, keep going.
So you're with us now. Okay, we're just finishing page 1 of the Unit 9 notes.
Okay.
And we had a review question we just talked about.
Okay.
So we're all pretty much lost in the sauce right now on Unit 9. So we're just gutting it out together.
It's just going over the material again, even if we don't know it, it just really helps cement everything. Every time you see it, something new will stick, right?
Yeah.
So the more we see it, yeah, the better we'll remember everything.
Okay, so page 2, the main topics on page 2 are exocrine versus endocrine glands, and then we start getting into the 6 major glands in the endocrine system. Can anybody tell me any of the glands in the endocrine system? Off the top of your head.
The pancreas has both endocrine and exocrine properties.
So pancreas is one of those glands, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so hypothalamus is going to be one of them.
Hypothalamus, pituitary gland.
Pituitary. What about
thyroid and the parathyroid?
So thyroid, parathyroid.
Yeah, thyroid and parathyroid too.
Zakara, do you know any of the glands in the endocrine system we talked about in class?
I think that's the most that I can remember too, but like my confusion will be which one would be exocrine, because the exocrine one, that would be just the pancreas. But I don't know if when the hypothalamus sent to the pituitary, and from the pituitary will be activating everything else. So the pituitary will be endocrine and the hypothalamus will be an exocrine.
So yeah, we're going to go over that in just a second. I've jumped ahead. We're going to go back and talk about endocrine. I'm asking if we know the 6 major endocrine glands. So let's talk. We talked about hypothalamus. That's the top one, right? And the hypothalamus talks directly to what next?
Pituitary.
Hypothalamus.
Yeah, the hypothalamus talks to pituitary next, but there's 2 branches to the pituitary. What are they?
Posterior and anterior.
So posterior and anterior. Now, the posterior side, well, what's one of the major organs that the posterior pituitary talks to?
The adrenal gland?
Yeah, the adrenal gland, which sits on top of the kidney, right? So it makes sense that there's some kidney function going on there, and we know, and then like, so that's kind of where I was going with that. That I think if we follow the tree, we can clearly identify the major glands that are interacting in this system. So you guys talked about the pancreas. Are there any other glands that the anterior pituitary talks to?
The hypothalamus.
The hypothalamus and
the thymus too.
Thymus
and the
thyroid. Are there male and female reproductive organs that are getting talked to?
Yep.
So when there's damage or there's breakup of there's pathology in these systems, it's the end user that's going to be affected. That makes sense. So if there's a problem with the pituitary, it's not necessarily the pituitary that's going to be affected. It'll be the hormone that isn't secreted or over secreted to the end user that's going to be affected.
Okay.
So for the gonads, like the follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone and all of those, they don't affect the pituitary. I mean, it either doesn't send it out or it sends out too much, but ultimately the gonads are the ones that suffer, right?
Yes, it's the end user that has the pathology present. It's not necessarily the start point. And that was the only thing I wanted to push with this, that it's not necessarily important to know the 6 glands. It is important to know how they communicate. It is important to know how they communicate so that we understand that the end user is the one getting affected.
Got it.
Okay, I beat that to death. Okay, so exocrine versus endocrine. Who can tell me the difference between exocrine versus endocrine?
Exocrine have channel or not channels. What are they called? Ducts.
Yep.
Where that's how they send out their product, whatever it is they're sending out. Like the salivary glands, the gastrointestinal also has the pancreas obviously has an exocrine component as well, right?
So the easy way to remember this is local communication versus long distance communication.
Right.
So Zakara, since you kind of jumped on this earlier, so which one is short distance communication, exocrine or endocrine?
Endocrine.
So which one's which? So exocrine does what?
So exocrine, I think that would take a longer time to affect because the endocrine should put their input right in the bloodstream, right? Like
yes.
the pancreas does, right?
Yes. So endocrine is long distance communication by secreting hormones into the bloodstream, and they're carried throughout the body. Exocrine is local communication. The gland is located right there. Through a duct, it secretes its messenger, and then it affects the cells right in that area.
Like the salivary glands, the only place it's going to affect is right there in the mouth as you're eating something. The salivary gland gets the saliva out, and then you use that for the food that you're eating, but it doesn't go anywhere else. Where endocrine is in the blood, it can travel anywhere in the body. So long distance endocrine and the local exocrine.
Okay, so Tanner, can you explain the 3 diagnostic methods? Do you remember those? We talked about them earlier. That's why I'm pushing you to do it.
I don't know about it.
There was direct testing, indirect testing. I can't remember the last one.
The last one starts with a P.
P?
Yeah, it's proactive.
Proactive.
Okay. It's
provocative.
Okay.
It's like provocative or something.
Provocative.
There it is, provocative. Yeah.
Provocative, because you're provoking something to happen. That's why, like when they give you that really horrible sugar thing that you have to drink when they're gonna test your insulin response. They give you that glucose. Yeah, they give you a glucose drink, right? Because they're provoking the pancreas to work to see how it responds and how over time is able to deal with sugar that's in your body. So that's provocative, is something that's forcing the, the whatever organ you're testing to do its job to see how it is responding.
Awesome. Okay, so that's the most complicated one right there. That's the most complicated one. So direct testing is what?
Testing directly whatever it is you're testing. So you're checking the levels of, say, insulin, for example. You're directly testing the insulin. So
yeah, so if I want to test insulin, I take a blood sample and I test for insulin. I actually see what its level is. Okay, right. And I can do that for other things. I can do that for urine. I can pull a urine sample and I can say, what is the absolute amount of urea in this sample? That would be a direct test. We call that specific gravity. That's what specific gravity tells us, right? It's a direct assessment of that particle in that sample. Now, what would be indirect then?
If you don't mind, I'll keep talking. So indirect would be testing something that is affected by that, what you're trying to test. So in the case of insulin, sugar. So if you check the sugar levels in the blood, you're checking in directly how the insulin is working. So
for Tanner, since you haven't said that much in a while, so I'm going to get you up. So if we do an indirect test for glucose and insulin, those are the two substances, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm testing for glucose and I have a high glucose level, what is that going to tell me indirectly about insulin?
Indirectly, that the insulin levels are low.
Yeah, so we would indirectly assess that insulin would be low because glucose is elevated.
Right.
So if I have an elevated insulin level and I've just drawn that on a direct test, I've tested insulin, what indirectly can I assess glucose to be if insulin is too high? What's my glucose going to look like?
Low.
So they're directly related, right? So if insulin's high, we can indirectly assess that glucose would probably be low. If insulin is high, we can indirectly assess that glucose would be low, and vice versa. So that's an indirect assessment or indirect testing.
But Christopher, sorry.
Go ahead.
So if the glucose is high, okay, it's either the insulin will be low, or there is insulin but it's not functioning, right?
Yeah, and that's what provocative testing tells us.
Oh,
that's what test is for. Because what if we do have high insulin levels, and what if we have high glucose levels together? What if they're both happening together? So you just made an assessment. You said, hey, if my glucose levels are high and my insulin levels are high too, now I have to do a third test. I have to say, is it because my beta cells in my pancreas aren't working right? Or is it because my muscle cells on the other end aren't taking up the glucose? So that would tell me type 1 or type 2 diabetes, right? Mm-hmm. That's the third test. So we do one. It tells us something about the other one. Then we're looking at them both and saying, I have an elevated glucose and elevated insulin. Now what's going on? It could be type 1 or it could be type 2. And now that's going to drive us to the next test. Hey, is it beta cells are dead in the pancreas, or is it muscles not taking them up and they're resistant to glucose? So that's how we use the tests all together. We don't just use one by itself. The one drives us to the next one, which drives us to the next one, which leads us ultimately to the disease process that we're looking for.
There we go.
So,
and we beat that to death.
Sorry, I was going to say, just to, I guess, reiterate that if your muscle cells are not uptaking that sugar, then you have insulin resistance, basically.
Yes. So that's when you can have glucose and insulin levels both be high, because your body is producing insulin, but the insulin isn't allowing that glucose to enter.
The job's not happening. Yeah.
On the end user isn't taking it.
The receptors
the body has become resistant to the insulin, so the insulin cannot do its job.
There you go.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so we beat that to death. Okay, let's move on. Okay, I think the effect of aging on the hormones. Anytime we talk about aging, what are we talking about?
It's slower.
We're losing. Yeah, we're losing the capacity to do the job that we're supposed to do.
So the 3 effects of aging that the notes talk about are decreased hormone secretion, decreased clearance of the hormones. The renal system can't clear them as quickly, and then just decreased receptor binding.
Receptor binding.
Okay, so enough said. Decrease, decrease, decrease. That's it.
Yep.
So older people just don't respond as well.
That's receptor binding.
Okay, so here we
Can you
go.
repeat that?
Sorry, go ahead. Zakar, do you have something you want to add?
Yeah, I just want you to repeat it, please.
Oh, repeat it? So
Yeah, the
About the
3.
effects of aging.
decrease clearance at the renal level, at the kidneys, and decrease receptor binding at the cellular level, at the receptor sites. So old people just don't bind, they don't secrete, and they don't clear in their kidneys as well as young people. So decreased, decreased, decreased.
Decreased secretion, decreased clearance, and decreased receptor
There you go.
Binding.
binding.
So one of the key things they talked about in the notes that I thought was funny is older women. You hear the term hot flashes, right? I get hot flashes. Well,
Yeah.
they assess hot flashes to reduce receptor binding at the cellular level. That's where that comes from. So one of the signs and symptoms of reduced receptor binding is hot flashes in menopausal women. As the cell binding sites start to diminish their ability to take up the hormones, women get hot flashes. I'm glad I'm a man.
Nice. Okay.
I'm glad.
I to remember.
You guys don't have to suffer all the stuff we suffer through.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm a man. So awesome.
Oh
Okay.
man.
So our 6 glands, let's just really quickly go through the 6 glands, not the details. Let's just get through the 6 glands one time. So gland number 1 is the starting point. And what's that gland called?
Hypothalamus.
The hypothalamus is the starting point. Gland number 2, or stop number 2, is which one?
There.
Pituitary.
Pituitary is number 2. Excellent. Okay.
And then
So
there's 2
gland
in the
number
throat.
3. Sorry, go ahead, Tanner.
I was just saying, I noticed like there's 2 in the brain, there's 2 in the throat, and then 2 in the abdomen.
That's
So-
pretty easy
there you
to
go.
remember, right?
Yeah.
It's 2 cubed, man. It's 2 cubed. So 2 in the brain, 2 in the
cute.
throat, 2 in the abdomen.
Yep.
Awesome. So our 2 brain ones are what?
The hypothalamus and pituitary.
Okay. Then what are our 2 throat ones? Anyone?
The thymus and parathymus.
So thyroid, parathyroid.
Thyroid
Yes.
and parathyroid. I said thymus, didn't I?
Thymus,
thyroid.
is where
Thyroid and parathyroid.
so the thymus is where we train T cells to become awesome at their job.
That's the other one.
T cell school.
Yep.
But yes, it's really easy to say those wrong. Then what are the last 2? What are the abdominal ones?
Oh, that would be the pancreas and the gallbladder, I think.
Adrenals, isn't it?
Let's hold on. Let's double check it.
Adrenal, yeah. Pancreas and
Adrenals and
pancreas.
pancreas.
Oh, okay.
Because the other. So what was the other organ that you just said? So you said pancreas and Zakara. You just said pancreas and what?
The gallbladder, that's also considered one, but I don't know.
Okay, I thought gallbladder was GI. We just covered it in the last unit.
Oh, okay then.
It's okay. So the 2 abdominals are adrenal and pancreas. The 2 throat ones are thyroid, parathyroid.
Yep.
And the 2 brain ones are hypothalamus and pituitary. Okay. Let's just make sure. Okay. I just want to look at this really quickly. Okay, so let's move on and really quickly cover diabetes mellitus really quickly, because there's like 3 pages of diabetes stuff, and I want to just quickly touch on it. So Addie, I think for you, for tomorrow's class, just knowing the general flow of what you're going to see, I think will help you focus your brain
Okay.
Like now you kind of know what's coming, right? And so now you
Yeah.
can focus down on the details as opposed to what the hell is next.
Did you say this is diabetes mellitus you're going to talk about?
Yeah, so diabetes mellitus. So
What
really
page?
quickly, sorry, go ahead.
Would you mind telling me what page that's on?
That's on page number 9.
Oh, good. Okay, I just kept turning pages and I couldn't get it.
Yeah, so no, we jumped over the 6. We jumped over the 6 gland, and now we're on page 9, diabetes mellitus. So can anybody tell me anything about diabetes mellitus that they know? Anything?
Type 1 diabetes.
Okay, so type 1.
Isn't it type 2? I thought diabetes insipidus was, maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, but
you're okay. We're just throwing ideas out right now, and then we'll start fixing things. So,
okay. So there's a few.
Go ahead,
Zakia.
Okay. Yeah. I'm waiting. I'm just thinking. That's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So there's 2 main types of diabetes, type 1 and type 2. They both have mellitus on the end of them. Type 1 diabetes mellitus, type 2 diabetes mellitus. But then you mentioned another one, diabetes insipidus, which we'll also talk about. Let's see. And then there's gestational diabetes too.
Yes.
But yeah, the 2 main ones are type 1 and type 2 diabetes mellitus.
Yes, that was like, I know that I forgot one.
No, you're okay.
I'm totally learning something new here, guys.
Oh,
so
okay.
I didn't know there was a type 1 mellitus, which is
So you're totally So what does mellitus mean? Does anybody know what mellitus defined as? It's a Greek word for what?
Is it?
Oh wait, this is in the class.
I'm gonna think it's like honey or
sweet or honey. So diabetes type 1 and diabetes type 2 can both present with sweet urine. That's why they're both diabetes mellitus, because they both present with sweet urine. Where diabetes insipidus, does it have sweet urine?
Nope.
No, diabetes insipidus is a different type of diabetes, and it doesn't present with sweet urine. And then gestational diabetes, what's gestational diabetes?
That only happens during pregnancy, right?
That's only when you're pregnant, right? Totally. And so that now can diabetes, gestational diabetes, develop into full-blown diabetes that the pregnant lady keeps?
Yes.
Yes. It can also resolve. It can go both ways. So a pregnant woman gets pregnant, she gets diabetes, she delivers, and it goes away. She goes back to normal metabolism. But she can also develop an insulin-resistant diabetes and have to be on, like, therapy for the rest of her life. Again, I'm glad I'm a man.
Hey, so I had a quick question to something we talked about earlier. Adriana, you mentioned a glucose test, like they have you drink this really concentrated glucose drink. Is that testing for gestational diabetes?
I don't.
Is that what you were talking about? No.
No, I don't think so, because especially because you do not want to give a woman who's suffering from gestational diabetes any more sugar than she's already, having in her body. She's already having a lot of problems, with sugar in her body. So you do not want to give that. It's usually just those tests. They will do it on basically normal people, just to test and see how their body is working or how it is clearing glucose.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because you don't, especially like if you already know somebody has a problem with diabetes, you don't want to put them in danger by giving them that super sweet stuff. So I think, not sure about this, but I think it's only people who are normal and they're just testing them to see how their body is clearing sugar, that they use that glucose test.
Okay.
Okay.
What type of test is that? What type of test was that?
That was the provocative testing.
Yes.
And it's glucose tolerance. Glucose tolerance.
I always want to throw stuff like that because it reminds us to, all that kind of stuff.
Yes. All right.
Okay, so who can tell me what? Okay, So who can tell me what normal blood glucose in the body should be? What's the normal range?
70 to 120.
Yeah, 7120, 7110, 7130. Somewhere in that range is considered normal, right?
Yep.
There we go.
So what's the word? What's the actual like the medical term for too low of blood sugar?
Hypoglycemia.
Hypoglycemia. Then what's the medical term for too much?
Hyperglycemia.
So too much is hyperglycemia. Which one is more dangerous?
Hypo.
Well, hypo.
Hypo. Why? Why is hypo more dangerous?
That's I don't know.
Well, the easy answer is everything in pathophysiology that we've learned, too low is also always worse. Like, right? Hypotension is worse than hypertension, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hypoglycemia is worse than hyperglycemia. For some reason, our body does not like low values, and I think it's because it's closer to death, right? If you're active and things are moving, you have some time to come down. But if you're already low and it stops, you die, right?
Yeah. And remember, like people who have hyperglycemia, problems with hyperglycemia, they can go for years suffering from, like always high levels of sugar in their body. Of course, it's causing a lot of damage. But people who have hypoglycemia, they pass out. Like they cannot last a long time in hypoglycemia because they'll be on the floor and you'll see them immediately. Like their eyes start to lose focus and they look completely confused before they, lose their legs and they pass out.
It's pretty much the last hour of our class.
As a super instructor,
the whole class looks like hypoglycemia.
No, I've seen
Okay, I just want to add something for that glucose test, the provocative test.
Yeah.
And I just Googled it, and it's saying like if you're a patient or like the pregnant woman in the beginning of her pregnancy, she got like some glucose levels elevated in her urine. Then they will do that. They will do that to check how your body insulin will react to high glucose.
So they actually will, but that's before they actually diagnose her with.
Yes, that before.
Yeah.
Okay. They just if they saw that in your test that's kind of elevated, so they want to check like how your insulin working, so they will give it to you. So that was a test questions like, oh, if you have a patient, come to the doctor appointment, like blah blah blah. So you finish the rest.
So that's basically what helps them determine that she has the gestational diabetes.
Yes.
Okay.
No.
So the last major topic in the notes before we finish up is a term called metabolic syndrome.
Okay, so that is page
number 13. It's the very last page.
13.
So it's the last topic. It's called metabolic syndrome. So it says, although it was identified less than 20 years ago, metabolic syndrome has reached epidemic proportions in the U.S., according to the American Heart Association. Okay. So it says the syndrome runs in families and is more common among African Americans, Hispanics, Asians, and Native Americans. Also known as Syndrome X and insulin-resistant syndrome, the risk of developing metabolic syndrome increases with, large waist size is one of the discriminating things. So for men, 40 inches. I got some work to do because I think I'm at 41 inches. So I got some work to do. And for women, it's 35 inches or wider. Cholesterol, high triglyceride levels of 150 milligrams per deciliter or higher. Cholesterol low, good cholesterol, HDL, for men less than 40 milligrams per deciliter, and for women it's less than 50 milligrams per deciliter. And then hypertension, so either having blood pressure of 135/85 or greater, or using high blood pressure medications. Again, I got hypertension, so I'm in trouble. And then blood sugar, high fasting glucose levels of 100 milligrams per deciliter or higher. So those are the major indicators for metabolic syndrome. So basically, if you live in the United States and you eat and don't exercise like everybody else, you're apt to get this.
Yeah,
Yep.
if you eat the sad American diet.
Yes.
Right?
You eat
Sad
the sad
American diet.
and you spend more time on your smartphone than you do in the gym, you're in trouble.
Right. So this
SAD.
is
That stands for something, doesn't it?
What was that?
The SAD American diet is that an acronym? That stands
yes.
for something?
It stands for Standard American Diet.
Oh,
SAD.
okay.
Standard American Diet.
There we go.
Okay,
Yep.
now I know.
I just always call it the sad American diet because it is sad.
Yes.
Okay, so it's 10:30. Are we all good?
Yep.
We're all sufficiently exhausted with Halloween and study group.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So tomorrow 5 o'clock, tomorrow 9:30, same bat time, same bat station.
And Chris, if you see my message,
Which one?
I won't be able to make it at 11:30.
That's fine.
Yeah, I know I have a dumb meeting I have to be at until 12 o'clock in the morning, about 12 noon, and then I'll be able to drive over there. So I probably won't be getting to school until 20 till or...
Oh, that's fine. No, you're fine. I saw your message. I wasn't planning on being there after that. I was like, oh, okay, good. I get to sleep in.
I know. Like, don't waste your time going over there for me.
Okay. But yeah, so Tanner, if you'll put that quiz on there for her,
Yes.
that'd be awesome.
Just in case you want to look at
Okay.
it.
Okay, then.
I'm out.
Okay.
Bye. Thank you.
Okay.
See ya.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.